To Tea for Me, please. Joining me today is Matt Kitchen from teasetter.com. And so, Matt, can you tell me how did you first become interested in tea?
Yeah, I just, I always wanted to be a coffee guy. I really tried hard to like coffee, and I just kept adding milk and sugar until I liked it, and I realized at a certain point that I wasn't really liking coffee at all. So then I went on a search for something else so I could still feel kind of cool and hip and not, miss out on the whole hot beverage thing that people drink a lot of. And so I discovered some loose leaf tea, just searching online and tried that out. And that was kind of my first foray into real tea. I mean, obviously I had tea here and there, bagged and whatnot, but I really wanted to get into it. So just tried a bunch of loose leaf stuff and, started enjoying it to a certain degree.
Very cool. I definitely feel your pain on the coffee. I love the smell, but I hate the taste of it.
Exactly, exactly. It's like tobacco for me, same way.
Yeah. And so, what's your favorite kind of tea?
So right now, like I'm kind of infatuated, at least I have been for the last year or so, with oolong and puerh, loose tea, just the real tea coming over from China, and really just been trying to experiment with, try as many different types of those as I can, and really get into that whole just the real tea. I'm not a big blend person. I like to really try the actual tea the way it kind of was, farm gathered and brew it up and try a lot of different kinds of that.
Very cool. And so, I know you've just recently started Tea Setter. And what inspired you to do that?
Yeah, so I started drinking loose leaf tea about whatever that was, like 8 or so years ago, and then so I got like this traditional green and whites and blacks, and I tried those, and they were good. I liked them a lot better than coffee, but I didn't love any of them. And so it wasn't until I took a trip out to, I think it was San Francisco, and I actually sat in my first real tea lounge right around in Cleveland area. There's not any really great tea lounges. So I sat in my first real tea lounge in San Francisco and ordered some tea, and they brought out kind of the traditional, kind of like multi-steeping, kind of Asian style brewing, and I tried some tea that way. I forget what it was at the time, some type of oolong, and I realized that like this whole kind of world opened up to me where I kind of went and researched and discovered this traditional kind of Asian style of slow multi-steeping tea, and all of a sudden I found these pu'ers and these oolongs that blew me away, like flavor profiles I didn't know existed, and so that's really what shifted me to wanting to then partake in that, and then found out not a lot of people know about that tea either, and so it's kind of what I'm trying to do with Tea Setter, is kind of bring these real Asian style, Chinese style teas to more people, show them how to brew it traditionally, and get more out of it, more of an experience out of it, which is what I fell in love with.
Very cool. And I know you've, just started off with, kind of three oolongs and three pours right now.
Yeah.
And so can you share maybe how you went about selecting those teas, or if
Yeah, absolutely. Went to several vendors. Yeah, I just kind of asked. I've tried a bunch, 50 plus of each, and these are my three favorites. The pu'er is kind of like a low, medium, high price range of each. If you want to try those, and there's a sampler pack available to kind of try all those. But the oolong specifically, I'm a big fan of the Iron Goddess, the Taiguanyin tea, and so I got a medium grade and a high grade of that, and that tea to me is like the most amazing tea if someone hasn't tried that before. This idea of this, like, it's so floral nature, it's so big, yet they start so small, and it kind of slowly unfurls, and it just gets this like amazing floral aroma, and just a great embodiment. And so I knew I wanted to do some Taiguanyin, and I tried that, and so got some of those, and just some other ones. The other oolong I have is kind of this. It's a darker oolong, closer to a black end, and it's a Oriental Beauty, which some people might be familiar with, and it's got some really great like peach notes in it, some really kind of grilled pitted fruit type notes, which when I tasted that, I was like, I didn't know that you could get this flavor inside of a tea without spraying it down or something like that, and that's all these things kept happening. Like the sweet fragrance pu'er I have, it starts off really robust, and as the water gets kind of cooler, and as you do 6 to 8 steepings, all of a sudden you get these really great like sugarcane sweet notes on the end, and all of a sudden I'm like, I didn't put sugar in that tea. Like, where did the sweet stuff come from? And like, it's just like I went on this journey with each tea, and I'm like realizing that like I don't think enough people know about tea this way, and so that's where they kind of came from.
That's awesome. So is there anything about Tea Setter that, my readers should know about, besides, that you've just started out and the teas that you have?
Yeah, sure. We have my goal is to make kind of this Asian style steeping, this multiple fusion style with gaiwan and hot water, and brew it multiple times in short infusions. This whole style that not a lot of Americans get into. My goal is to kind of make that approachable for everyone. So there's people that are already very ingrained in that, and they do that already at home. And so if that's you, then come for the tea, and I think you'll really enjoy some of my select teas. And if you're not familiar with that, if you're not approaching that yet, that was me before, and I had to do a ton of research to figure out how to do it and read a lot. And my hope is that I've done that for people that are starting out, and I hope that you'll come to my site. I have some videos. I'll be posting more of how to brew it that way, and why I brew it that way, and talk more about that. What's a gaiwan? How do you use it? Why is it used? And just trying to get people on that. So have videos and starting points, and I'm gonna start answering more questions, about those type of things. And so I think it's a great jumping on point to that, Chinese style of brewing.
That's great. When I first got into tea, it was maybe 5 years ago. There really wasn't a lot of retailers that had that kind of information on their website. So
Yeah,
it'll be great for people.
yeah, and that's still one of my things is when you go to those big box retailers that shall remain nameless, and you can get good tea from them. That's fine, but still. I went into one that's inside of one of my local malls, and I asked her, where the gaiwan's at, and the lady looked at me like she had no idea what I was talking about. She pointed over there like she had a clue, but she didn't. No offense to her, that's fine. And there's plenty of great teas you can drink, without that. And I don't want to disrupt anybody and their tea drinking, but the reality is I think there's this amazing world of teas that just not a lot of people know about. Inside of America, we like a lot of flavors. We like to blend some stuff together, and that's great. I have some of those in my pantry as well. My wife loves those as well. But at the same time, just brewing up the actual tea leaves that they were processed, putting them in a gaiwan, putting water in it, and drinking that way, I think is it's an experience. And taking the lid off the gaiwan and inhaling that aroma is something I think everyone needs to experience. It really did change the way I looked at tea altogether.
Yeah, it definitely does. And so you can follow Matt on Twitter it's at TeaSetterT.
Yep.
And I'll make sure to include the link to Tea Setter's website in the show notes as well, so that you can check them out. Thank you, Matt, for taking the time to meet with me and share your story with my readers.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Thanks a lot, Nicole.
Great, thank you.
Take care.